It is now my pleasure and a personal honor to introduce our keynote speaker, my dear friend, Rabbi Steve Leder, the senior rabbi of Wilshire Blvd Temple. Rabbi Leder has been my family's rabbi for over 25 years and officiated at my children's bar and bat mitzvah. I've always found his personal stories inspiring and comforting. He's an outspoken activist, and we thank him for his constant leadership and guiding voice during this challenging time. Now, with pleasure, I'd like to invite Rabbi Leder.
And I think the world and journalism would be better if before any report, the journalist simply told us where he or she or they come from. Let me tell you where I come from. My family was in America long before the Holocaust. Nevertheless, I too, like many of you, I am a second-generation survivor because the trauma of the Holocaust is in my DNA. I come from being seated in my synagogue's auditorium during Sunday school when I was 11 years old, being shown Night and Fog. It was the first time I saw grainy black and white footage of emaciated bodies being bulldozed into pits. I was 11. I come from being assigned Elie Wiesel's Night for my bar mitzvah class. Reading it in my tiny basement bedroom on a dark and cold Minnesota winter night, I realized he was not much older than I. This could have been me. I come from a father who often took me into our backyard and reminded me, Stephen, you see that tree over there? Just to the right of it, there are gold coins buried in case we ever have to make a run for it or buy bread. The Holocaust metastasized to my American family, making every Jew I knew a victim and a survivor. That is where I come from. And I am deeply honored to be here with all of you. All of you, especially the true survivors in your beautiful families. We know October 7th, the college campuses, the news, the spineless, morally confused trustees, presidents, faculty, and students are all the newest chapter in a very old story. We know the Babylonians threw Jewish babies off of cliffs 2,700 years ago. We know the ancient Romans flayed the skin off of Rabbi Akiva with an iron rake because he refused to cease teaching Torah. We know they wrapped Rabbi Hananiah in a Torah scroll and then set it on fire. We know they placed wet wool on his chest so the burn would be slower and the suffering prolonged. We know his disciples begged him, Rabbi, open your mouth, inhale the smoke so that you will die more quickly. And we know he refused. We know 500 years ago the Spaniards burned Jews at the stake if they refused to convert. We know the New York Times reported a pogrom in Kishinev almost 120 years to the day, saying The general cry, "Kill the Jew," was taken up all over the city. The Jews were taken wholly unaware and were slaughtered like sheep. Babies were literally torn to pieces by the frenzied and bloodthirsty mob. At sunset, the streets were piled with corpses and the wounded. We know. And of course, we know about the world remaining mostly silent as Nazis murdered 6 million Jews, beaten, raped, executed, and gassed 1.5 million children, turned into smoke. Smoke. And actually, it is wrong to say or to think that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, because the truth is, one Jew died 6 million times. Each person was a unique miracle born out of love. Each had a family and gifts for the world and dreams ending in fear and pain. So much fear and pain. 23 days ago, Iran attacked Israel. The fact that they failed does not mean they were bluffing. 80 years ago, our enemies brought Jews to the ovens. Today, our enemies want to bring the ovens to the Jews on the tips of missiles. We feel abandoned by so many right now. Where are you? Where are you, we wonder? We marched with you. We supported you. We reached out to you. We allied with you in your fight for dignity and justice. Where are you? And it pains me to say this, but whether we knew it or not, we were marching for others and their causes on what was and is mostly a one-way street. The truth is that most people are a lot better at virtue signaling than they are at behaving with virtue. The woke are in a deep, immoral coma when it comes to us. On Rosh Hashanah, 3 weeks before the massacre, and I have never been sorrier in my life to be right, I said to our congregation, we often think of life as a series of good and bad choices, followed by a series of good and bad results. But for the Jewish people, life sometimes offers us not good or bad choices, but bad and worse choices. Golda Meir put it this way: if we have a choice between being dead and pitied or alive with a bad image, we'll take the bad image. Yes, her point lacks nuance. So does mine. Israel's choices are not always so binary, but right now, they are. Menachem Begin was right. He was asked about the lessons of the Holocaust, and he said the world will never pity slaughtered Jews. And he was also right when he said the world may not necessarily like the fighting Jew, but the world will have to take account of him. So while others may be confused, let us be morally clear. There is a difference between murder and killing. Hamas murders Jews, and murder forces us to kill, even when innocent people die in the process. They are not victims of Israeli aggression. They are the victims of the terrorists' total disregard for life itself. None of us have a choice. We have no choice but to reject the rejectionist ideology of Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad and Islamic Brotherhood and Qatar and Iran, an ideology that cares not about Palestinians and not about peace, only dead Jews, only blood. And this all hurts so much. This is all so heartbreaking. But there is real power in a broken heart. The rabbis explained it this way. There's a verse in Jeremiah that says, God places God's words upon our hearts. Now, the rabbis ask a really interesting question. Why? Why upon our hearts? Surely, if God has the power to place words upon our hearts, then God has the power to place words within our hearts. Wouldn't that be better? And then the sages answer, God places words upon our hearts because it isn't until our hearts are broken that the words can enter. It's true. There are some things that can only enter our hearts when pain cracks us open. Beautiful things, like how much we all need each other. Our truest friends, our allies, and the stranger sitting next to us in shul who is no longer a stranger at all, who is our brother and our sister, our comfort and our hope. We know we need each other now. The good people in our lives, and there are many who are not Jews, who have reached out, who do care, who are morally clear, they have entered our hearts. And so too, a newfound faith in ourselves. Have you ever wondered why? And I know probably not, because you're not a geeky rabbi. Have you ever wondered why the Torah commands the Ner Tamid, the eternal light in the temple, to be fueled by Shemen Zait Zach, the purest of olive oil? Why? Because the rabbis observe when the olive is pressed, crushed, that is when it gives forth its purest, most beautiful light. I often say to people who are suffering when they come to sit with me in my study upon what I call my couch of tears, if you have to go through hell, do not come out empty-handed. Nothing is worth the suffering our people have and are enduring, but we must not allow it, while not worth it, to be worthless. Victory will come if October 7th and the shameful hate it has unleashed lead to a better, more united Jewish community, a more effective Jewish community. More Jews drawn in from the periphery to the core. More day schools, more summer camps, more nursery schools, more Shabbos, more family trips to Israel instead of Paris or Cabo or wherever else the hell we take our children. More love of God, more Torah, more Hebrew, and mostly more love for each other. We really need each other. And we are finding each other. And above all, let those who seek to destroy our faith cause us to embrace that faith more fully now, with all our heart, with all our soul, and yes, so too with all our might. And from whence does our might come? We choose life. We have always privileged life and goodness over death and evil. In our darkest hours of death and abandonment, we stand and we say Kaddish, a prayer that does not mention death even once. Instead, it speaks only of life and the greatness of God. A funeral cannot be held on Shabbat or a holiday, but a bris must be conducted, even on Yom Kippur. We celebrate life no matter what. Death can wait, but never life. The Jewish calendar marks only one major day, Tisha B'Av, for remembering the sadness of Jewish history. But there are dozens of holidays commemorating the joy of our history, the goodness of God and nature. And despite how we joke about our own proclivity to see the tunnel at the end of every light, we believe in goodness. Pu 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 ka'ain hara. This is told in one of my favorite Jewish jokes. It's a joke about the Jewish pessimist who says, "Oh my God, things could not be worse." And the Jewish optimist who responds, "Of course they could." There is so much good in the world. So much good. The High Holy Day prayer book reminds us that God remembers the good in each of us despite our mistakes. It also asks us to remember the good in each other and in the world. We're not blind to evil. It's just that Jews believe in the power of goodness to overcome evil. We choose life. There's a very obscure law in the Talmud that has always amazed me. It has to do with a blessing over the new moon at the beginning of each new month. The Talmud requires a blind person to bless the new moon. Why? Why would the sages require a person to bless something he cannot see? To affirm what is hidden. Lately, it's been very hard for us to see the world as good and decent. Fear and tears and sadness and anger blind us sometimes. And yet, we remain commanded by 3,000 years of what it means to be a Jew, to bless what we sometimes cannot see, and to affirm what is sometimes hidden. In just 2 days, the new moon will appear again. So amid the confusion and the fog, be clear and remember that to be a Jew is never to lose hope for a beautiful end to the oldest of stories. What did the poet mean when he wrote that verse in the 23rd Psalm, "Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies"? I think he meant to give us hope in our battle against fatalism, to tell us we can make peace with our enemies and with each other. Who could have imagined a Jewish nation rising from the ashes 3 years after Hitler's death? Who could have imagined a lasting peace with Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, Sudan, Bahrain, and Morocco? Who could ever have imagined a potential peace, even a cold peace, with Saudi Arabia? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, says another verse in that powerful and poignant psalm, reminding us that somehow we walk through the valley of shadows together. We do not remain there forever. For what is a shadow, really, but proof of light? A shadow, no matter how long or how dark, cannot exist unless a powerful light is still shining. It is obstructed, but it shines. Hate is love obstructed, murdered even, but it is not love extinguished. Hate is not the end of hope, but the beginning of a battle, summoning each of us to a deeper faith, to clarity, to courage. It is a solemn oath to a more beautiful tomorrow. Every one of us here was born out of the deepest, most magical love of our parents, our people, our Torah, our God, our nation. It's all the stuff of dreams for better, for love, for peace. Never allow such dreams to be murdered. Never allow hope to die. No matter how deep and long the valley, no matter how dark the shadows, we surely will emerge again into the warmth and the light. And until then, let us be morally clear. Let us be strong. Let us be brave. Yehi Shalom Rabba min Shemaya. May there be great peace in the heavens. V'chayim aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. And life for us and for all of Israel. Ve'imeru. Amen. Oh. Ose Shalom bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al